maybe I can like put the flubber into something that drives a turbine, like literally just a cup with flubber, give it a spank, bzzz, goes forever. I mean, that's what you gotta do, right? You gotta spank your flubber. I hope if you're spanking it, it's not flubber. So
it's flying rubber. It's flubber.
This is Midnight Local. We're talking about 1997 movie Flubber. Why in the fuck are we talking about Flubber, Meredith? What the hell even brought this up?
Yeah, that's the only way to open this show. You brought this up. You did it. You did it.
This was my fault. It was because my kid wanted to watch Flubber, and I was in the middle of it, and I said, "Hey, why don't we do Flubber? It'll be really easy for me to actually like deliver on this one."
Are you? Yeah, I'm in the Disney Channel circle where everything from my childhood right now, just one a week. Like it was Baby's Day Out popped out the other day, or Angels in the Outfield. It's just tailored for me to be watching stuff with my kids.
Babies, plural. Did you have a second?
No, Baby's Day Out.
Yeah, but you said watching with my kids as a...
Watch it. Oh, just speaking.
Planning for the
Watch
future.
it with my kid. I have kid.
Chilled.
But yes,
Child.
Someday, the future
Chilled.
me. I was, we the millennials. I was speaking as a royal millennial.
Okay. Well, as we are, the millennial royalty. Baby's Day Out, that's an interesting one. That guy gets hit in the nuts a lot in that movie. They really didn't have any other jokes to use. It was just like smash him in the balls.
The only thing I remember from that movie is the revolving door.
And set his balls on fire.
That's what's funny, Greg.
It's not funny. No, but let's talk about Flubber. Flubber is a remake of the Absent-Minded Professor. I almost said Nutty Professor. That's a whole other thing and a whole other remake. I think Absent-Minded Professor came out in 61.
That's what I read last night. Yeah,
Nice.
61.
Nice. Did you grow up with that movie?
Did not.
I did. I mean, I don't remember a ton of details about it, but I do remember watching it as a child. I really liked Fred McMurray. I still really like Fred McMurray, but more so for his really hard-boiled film noir roles. What a strange about-face of typecasting he had, man. Wow. Went from murdering husbands for insurance money to the happiest millionaire in the world, which is a strange movie. I don't know if you ever saw that. That's a Disney musical that might be better off forgotten.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
It's weird. My kid was real into it for 5 minutes.
In the Absent-Minded Professor, is Flubber like main invention, or does he have many inventions?
No, it's about Flubber.
It is.
Yeah. He's developing. I think it's the exact same plot. Flubber is this thing that he's inventing to save Medfield College, if I'm not mistaken. And Medfield is the college that Disney set a bunch of their live action movies at. All of the Jack Russell Terry movies, the Kurt Russell movies, all are at Medfield, and a few others. And the Absent-Minded Professor and its sequels, possibly the Shaggy Dog, take place at Medfield. Yeah, it's like sort of Disney's pretend school. It's Disney's version of H.P. Lovecraft's Miskatonic University.
Medfield.
Not Med, M-E-D.
I wonder, there's got to be a, Medfield College shirt. Oh my gosh, that's so interesting. Yeah. I have never caught that in all of my Disney fandom.
Yeah, and
this is the first time I'm ever hearing this.
If you watch like a lot of the movies about that take place in Medfield College, not all of them, but a lot of the shots are just like around the office park of Disney Studios. Like, yep, today this is a cafeteria. Normally it's the commissary where people get
Shaggy Dog, you're right. That's so crazy.
Yeah, baby. Disney adult.
Facts. All right,
but yeah, and in that, the Flubber is a black rubbery liquid. He does use it to doctor up some sneakers for a basketball game to much the same effect. He uses it to make a car fly, although I don't think it's ever explained in the Absent-Minded Professor how it is that Flubber would make a car fly. Whereas I am very pleased with the science, the explanation for how that works in Flubber. I was shocked that they thought that out and then also designed a machine that, like, that's what it would look like. That would work, I think. That makes a lot of sense.
I connected the accelerator to a sliding shutter. If I press down on the accelerator, it releases the gamma rays, and that increases the thrust. Lift of that baby jerk. Now, the steering wheel controls lateral motion.
Mm-hmm.
If you turn right,
Okay.
it'll steer right.
Oh, turns right.
And the wheel left, it steers left. So it functions a lot like a normal automatic shift. Drive, park, neutral, reverse.
And then I'm pretty sure, because I remember that Flubber in both movies, well, we'll come to that in a second. We want to talk about the science of Flubber. In The Absent-Minded Professor, the whole point is that it's a perpetual motion machine. When you put a little bit of energy into it, every time the ball bounces, it'll bounce higher and higher and higher. In Flubber, it does do that, but he says that the minute you stop injecting energy into the system, it ceases to behave that way. But like then
Something that's already moving, like how do you do that?
They seem to have it both ways in that, because like they need to be able to stop the Flubber because they use it as a weapon so much and everything, but also they needed it to still be Flubber. I don't follow.
It's a metastable compound, Sarah. In layman's terms, if you apply a small amount of energy, it liberates an enormous quantity of energy. But the total effect is transient, Sarah. The moment you stop applying energy, it returns to a quasi-plasmoid state.
Is the absent-minded professor as absent-minded as Robin Williams' version in 61?
That I don't remember, and honestly, I doubt he could be.
Okay.
Robin Williams' Professor Brainerd is a freaking moron. Like, there's something wrong. I think he should go to the hospital and have the brain damage treated. He seems to be recovering from some kind of a concussion.
Yes. How does he get anywhere? How does he do anything?
I don't know how he remembers to eat. You know, he's a walking blonde joke. If he didn't have a cassette tape reminding him to breathe, he'd suffocate.
The wedding is today, okay?
I believe you.
6:30 at the Presbyterian Church on Beach Street.
I've been there.
We had our rehearsal there last night.
That's right. We did. It went well?
Yes, it did.
Good.
But it doesn't count.
No?
The wedding counts. And I want you to promise me on everything between us that you'll be there, okay?
I'd rather die than disappoint you.
I had a lot of questionable feelings about Sarah being in a relationship with him, too.
She did. Yeah, that's
I'm not
true.
sure he can consent to that.
Yeah. Do you think her friends talk? You know? Do you think they talk? Like, forget May, September. It's just like functioning brain, abnormal person.
What would you even talk about? You just look at your friend and be like, I know.
She's marrying Professor Brainerd. Okay.
Does he remember who she is? Okay, all right. So start at the beginning. Start us at the beginning.
We're not going to walk through it beat by beat, but just to set up how out of his mind he is, he walks into a life drawing class with a pair of nude models and just begins immediately, without warning, talking about gravitational attraction. He doesn't introduce himself to the class. He doesn't, there's no like preparatory, like what were they supposed to learn? He's just talking gravity, runs in, starts talking gravity, nothing. No setup.
So my sense was that he was just late to his weekly class.
Yeah, but
he's always late.
Sure, but even if you were late to your weekly class, wouldn't you have to say like, hey guys, sorry I'm late. Today we're going to talk about blah, blah, blah. If you remember from last week. No, he's just like talking gravity. No warning.
Yeah.
So he's teaching gravity and then finds out that he's in the wrong class, not because of the faces of the disturbed students or the pair of nude models sitting there that he is interacting with. He is interacting with, using them as examples for his attractive bodies. Ha, ha, ha.
That's right. He acknowledges their existence.
Only when he sees the wrong name written on the blackboard does he realize this is not my class.
Yeah.
Great. It's a great bit. It does. I mean, we are setting up, though, the fact that this man is not well. We then find out that it is his wedding day, which I think is insane. I got married. Did you get married?
I did.
Did you go to work that day?
No, but there's a lot of sitcom universes in which work on their wedding days. It is a whole thing. It happens in Scrubs.
Okay.
But they are doctors, but still, your wedding day, you get off for your wedding day, probably.
Talking about sitcoms, wedding days, and life events. Sitcoms and movies told me that as a father in the delivery room, having a baby, that there would be probably some kind of a curtain and that I would be holding a hand and getting cursed at. That's what I was told. Instead, I was the stirrups. So that was fun.
Yeah. For one or both legs?
Both.
Oh, wow. Okay. Ray only had one.
Yeah, and then the second Doctor, we only did one.
We only did one.
Only did the one leg, but for the first Doctor, it was me, the Doctor, and her nurse or whatever, and nobody else.
And did you get cursed at and yelled at?
Nah.
Yeah, that's not a thing that really happens very much, I don't think.
No, why would it be?
Why'd you put this in me? It's like, well, hopefully that was a co-decision there.
Honey, this was your idea.
Yeah, exactly. I got no excuses there. I went to a doctor every day for weeks.
You put a lot of work in. We had some rum.
Much cheaper.
Okay, so it's his wedding day. He's at work. He forgot that it's his wedding day again.
For the third time, I think.
Yeah, he forgot that it's his wedding day for the third time, and she's still willing to marry him.
But, like, okay.
Why? There is no chemistry between them. There is no indicator that they are in a relationship at all. They just seem like two co-workers.
Besides him just saying, I love you, I love you, I can never live without you, I love you, I love you.
I love you with all my heart, with every cell, with every molecule, with every atom. I love you on a subatomic level.
Prove it to me tonight at 6:30.
Why is this the test? Why does this test equal love for you? Like, this has been the third time that this has happened. There are so many solutions to this problem. There's going right then and there to City Hall.
Yeah.
There is living with this person and making sure you're with him throughout the day to get him to the wedding together. Like,
it's fascinating. I mean, was that like Disney Dogma in '97 that like there was no premarital cohabitation?
Probably. Oh, I'm sure it's a Disney movie, so I'm
97?
certain.
Okay.
You couldn't have a kids movie. I think you probably still couldn't have a kids movie where people were living together without being married.
It was a big deal in
Disney.
When Annette Funicelli wanted to do one of the beach movies, she wanted to have her navel visible, and she had to like argue with Walt himself about this. But I mean, and to that point, on I Dream of Jeannie, they filled her belly button with putty so that she didn't have a belly button. They used cosmetics to cover up her belly button.
Wow. 'Cause wow.
Those boomers were real into like tongue fucking belly buttons or something. It was just too racy. Yeah.
That hole in your stomach.
Ooh, yeah. Let's get in there.
So weird. Well, I mean, any skin show, that's wild. But yeah, I would imagine that's still a tent pole that they hold up. I would think in live action, you don't find people living together that aren't married in Disney movies.
I will say too, and about that topic, so since we're on it, let's get into it. A lot of people think that like, oh, blah, blah, sitcoms, haha, separate beds. That was exclusively for I Love Lucy. I Love Lucy started that trend, and it wasn't because married couples were not supposed to be pictured as having a single bed. It was the race issue. It was because a white lady and a Cuban man couldn't share a bed.
But they can be married.
Yes.
I just don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
Yeah. No, that's true. And comes up in the documentary about that. And also it's obvious because like all kinds of movies and other sitcoms of that time and stuff shared beds. It's like not.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not a controversial issue. It was just because the race.
It always drives me nuts that in movies no one's got a bed bigger than a full bed, which I assume is just for filming purposes because it makes framing much easier, but it drives me crazy.
There was a episode of, man, just bringing me back. We watched Roseanne pretty religiously in my house growing up, and there was an episode about Roseanne and John getting a king or queen size, or buying a new bed and wanting a full bed, and the mattress salesperson was like, "What do you?" And like, yeah, we've always had a full bed. Like, making a large joke about the fact that like that's weird, and also you guys are huge.
Yeah, right. I wonder if that's like a Hollywood joke because
it could be
for them to make that joke on the show, and like a 555 thing, or and empty coffee cups also drives me nuts. Just put some water. Just put some water in it. Give it some weight.
Good prop masters will put some like clay or something in the bottom as well.
It drives me crazy.
Water. Yeah. And honestly, decent actors, you know, they can give something a little bit of weight, as I fail to right now. But You know, you can do.
Let's all pick up our cups.
Merritt, you got to do.
The riveting episode of How to Drink.
You've got to do your object work. You know what I'm saying? You have to do your object work. It's got to be good.
This is a good time to mention, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see us play with our cups. So if you're over at the podcast, check that up over there.
Yep.
Also, we are on Instagram at Midnight Local Pod and on TikTok.
Tic-tac.
The TikTok. We're on TikTok at Midnight Local Pod.
That'll be the competitor to TikTok. It's TikTok, and it's for people who have yet to jump off of Facebook. It's people with MySpace accounts will be on TikTok.
Yeah. Facebook rolls out their version of Reels and TikTok. It's TikTok.
It's Instagram Reels.
I know. Yeah, it is.
All right. Sorry.
All right.
Okay, so we covered sharing a bed, cohabitating, racism, Dr. Brainerd's brain being brainless. He's working on something. Consent, yeah. Medfield College is going out of business, apparently. They're a for-profit university or something, and they can't pay the bills. They're going out of business. Or maybe they just like have very, very cheap tuition.
This is the plot line in Sister Act 2 as well. The school is closing.
Doesn't the Catholic Church have lots of money?
Not for that school. The Archdiocese has decided this school is closing.
That's fine. I guess that is possible. Yeah, so I don't understand why Medfield doesn't have money. Colleges usually have lots of money. And there's a gangster. Do they ever establish what the bad guy's deal is?
Yeah. He's just he's very rich. It does seem like organized crime, but they never really say it officially.
He's got Buffalo Bill.
Hang on, Einstein.
Stein.
Whatever.
He's got Buffalo Bill. When I heard that voice, it chilled me to my spine. Like, I was convinced I was not watching a kid's movie anymore. Like, I'm sure the actor is a wonderful man, but it was one of those moments of like, oh, your career must have been rough because your voice is so distinct. Hearing you in a kid's movie is like, this does not belong. And this is 6 years after Silence of the Lambs, at least, or something like that. But
well, the other one is Clancy Brown. And they're both terrifying characters. Clancy Brown was the Kurgan in Highlander, most famously up at that point. He's done a lot of work since then. But I wonder if that was a choice. Just like, let's get the scariest characters and make them the bad guys in this movie.
And who plays his son, too? The horribly...
Will Wheaton. So, yeah, the son of the mob guy is Will Wheaton. Let's set that up, too. We have a mob guy in a fancy house who is sending his kid to Medfield. And apparently trying to buy him A's, and Dr. Brainerd won't pass him. And what I don't get is, one, if Medfield is going broke, well, Medfield owes him a lot of money, I guess. None of this adds up to me. Like, Medfield owes him a lot of money. They borrowed money from a mobster, the college, and also that they needed to borrow money from a mobster, the college, and then also like this failing university that the mobster has in his pocket. He has so much money. That's where he wants to send his kid to school. Like, he could probably buy him an education anywhere. And then, and also it's not just a purchased degree. He actually has to go to this physics course and do well at it in order to pass. Like, I don't know.
Well, he doesn't have to do well at it. He only has to do well at it because the professor has principles, doesn't live in the real world like the rest of us.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the college gets to decide, you know what I mean? Like,
sure, yeah.
Okay, fine. I'll go along with that. It's a kid's movie. But in reality, that kid gets the degree he wants. And it's Will Wheaton of, if I'm not mistaken, Stand By Me and Star Trek The Next Generation, and probably up at that point a few other things that I'm forgetting. And he plays a real jerk in this, which was probably fun for him because he usually got to play like just a nice guy.
Very annoying, yeah.
He does support the school during the basketball game. He's
mad at his dad.
True blue Medfield.
His dad is placing a $10,000 bet, which is pointless because the odds, like the odds on that bet must have been like 10,000 to 1 or something. You're not going to make any money off of that bet.
Yeah. Not 10,000. The other way around, like 1 to 1.
The other way, yeah,
exactly.
Right.
Nobody would even give odds. Yeah. You couldn't place that bet, to be honest. Yeah, that's a
right.
good point. As somebody who grew up at the horse track, I can tell you, you're not placing a bet. It just would have been, they would have been taking no takers. You get those fractional odds.
Exactly. Yes. No takers.
And he's trying to develop what, Meredith, I'm sorry, what are we talking about? Why are we talking about Flubber?
Okay, here's a question. What would you do with Flubber? If you had Flubber, like how would you apply it?
I would solve all of the world's energy problems.
But like how?
How? You put the Flubber into, you want me to design a Flubber-based dynamo right now?
Yes.
Fine. Many options here, right? Maybe I can impregnate the Flubber with a ferro, like metal filings, and then I can shoot the Flubber back and forth through a stator, through another magnet, and let it bounce infinitely between those two things. That would make electricity. Maybe I can like put the Flubber into something that drives a turbine, like literally just a cup with Flubber, give it a spank, bzzz, goes forever. That's what you gotta do, right? You gotta spank your Flubber. I hope if you're spanking it, it's not Flubber. I can think of a million ways to make Flubber into free infinite energy, which actually, if I'm not mistaken, in the 1961 movie is the thing.
That's what they sell.
Yeah, I think so. In this version, they end up with a different product for Flubber, which we'll come to that in a minute. So solve the world's energy crisis. What would you do with Flubber?
I'm glad we have people like you, because I could never get to what I would do with Flubber, because I get to the basketball scene and all I see is myself bouncing up and like bumping my head. I would stay as far away from this stuff as possible, because it would just make me so accident prone. I couldn't even think about what I would do with it. Well, but yeah, solving the world's energy problems. I mean, obviously that's what I would do too.
It does seem like they do all of the wrong things with Flubber.
Yeah,
like when they get into fist fights, they put it on their fist, making their fists bouncy. I don't think that would make your punches hit harder. I think it would make them... I don't get it.
You put that on my shoes during a basketball game, and I am hitting my head, and I am knocked out on the floor in the span of maybe 10 seconds. Yeah, dead. Broken neck on the floor.
Also, no warning, by the way. No rehearsal, no practice. Guys, I should probably tell you, you're going to jump 18 feet in the air. Just a heads up. Like, I know you've never done that before. You don't know how to play basketball this way, but watch out. You're going to be jumping 18 feet in the air. The
idea that it made them better basketball players was hysterical to me. Like they would be
machine
flying all these uncoordinated, like horribly unathletic kids would be just like bouncing off of the walls and on the floor.
And they're like weak. So like, okay, I jumped 18 feet in the air. Well, that's an 18-foot fall. I broke my legs.
Just it's like you zoom out to the end of Kill Bill and they're all just like bloodied on the floor, screaming with body parts everywhere.
This is actually the origins of a Batman villain. This is not
it's good.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
I killed the basketball team with my inventions and I went mad. The Batman will never stop me now with my flubber dots.
So yeah, this got me thinking of what other inventions have come out since 1997 that are cooler than Flubber, but now that we're solving the world's energy crisis, I don't know if that's valid.
It's tough. It's tough to beat.
I mean, we've got the internet.
The internet's good. We had the internet in 97.
Is it good? We did, but we didn't have all of the things that came with the internet.
All the terrible things. I think the internet was mostly a mistake, except for the fact that I make a living on it. Cell phones?
We got cell phones. We've got smartphones. Cell phones existed. Smartphones did not. Yeah. Electric cars, wearables, Fitbits, and Apple Watches.
Yeah, I'm not into those.
Rockets that can land back on the ground.
You know what? We were doing that. I know Musk gets a lot of credit for that, but NASA was doing that way before. They just didn't take it to the point of practicality.
Well, Musk gets a lot of credit for a lot of people's work.
Yeah, a lot of people's work. The one thing, too, I want to say, I just saw an article, I want to read it, about the Cybertruck being a real culture war issue.
Have you seen one in real life?
Many. Several. Yeah, they're cool.
You love, well, it's so up your, that design is just Greg brain all the way.
Yeah, I don't want a Tesla if I buy an electric car, and that might not be a good truck, but a lot of people seem to have a problem with the way it looks. I don't have a problem with the way it looks. I think it looks like a fucking DeLorean, and it's awesome.
It would be a choice to drive it. I think because my view is painted. When you see one, you just have an immediate reaction right now. But if it wasn't a Tesla, I would have thought, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's fun. They're trying something.
Yeah.
Cars have looked very much the same for many years.
I agree. Yeah.
little boring.
I want some. The Hyundais with their electrics. They look like little spaceships that landed. Those things are pretty crazy. And also, I've seen Polestar or North Star or something like that. Polar. I don't know. There's another electric car company that I've seen around a little bit. They have like kind of spaceshipy looking cars. I like the spaceships. I want a spaceship.
Tesla terrifies me. Did you know that Elaine Cho, the wife of Mitch McConnell, her sister died in a Tesla on a ranch in Texas like a couple of months ago. And it was like not news anywhere.
And it was Tesla's fault?
She ran the car backwards into water and couldn't get out and slowly sank while calling people on the phone and drowning in her car. The former Speaker of the House's sister-in-law died in a Tesla and nobody heard about it.
That's bad.
Terrifying. Anyway,
bad.
sorry, that got dark. Sorry, we'll come back out. Other things. GPS.
GPS was around in 97, but you didn't have it. It was around. It's been around since the 80s.
Okay, so yeah, I guess. Well, I don't have Flubber either, so I was gonna say everyday inventions, but I guess we're just talking inventions. Podcasts.
Podcasts. The radio. Come on. We didn't invent nobody invented podcasts. It's radio. The whole thing coming back.
Air fryers.
Air fryers. Oh God.
The squatty potty.
My wife wants an air fryer.
Yeah.
Well,
Why
have
does it
because
cause you
we
stress?
have a convection oven. It's the same device.
But she wants an air fryer. Is it faster? Is there a reason she wants that over the oven?
If you take a convection oven and tell people it's an air fryer, it's an air fryer. It's the same fucking thing. It's literally the same technology.
Well, then why does she want one?
Come over and ask. I don't know.
What's your favorite invention of the last 20 years, 25 years, 30 years?
Oh, man. Well, I mean, you're beating around the bush, but I think we have to talk about AI if we're talking about inventions.
Yes.
I don't know if that's my favorite invention, but it's certainly a big one.
Well, that brings us to Weebo. That's a huge thing we have not discussed yet in this movie is
Weebo. Weebo. Sounds like Tybo, which is a way to get in shape.
I mean, probably the second most important character in the movie.
Yeah, I would say that Weebo's way more important than, what was her name?
Sarah.
Sarah. Weebo is a flying little robot, flying saucer, yellow, and it is reminds me of Batteries Not Included, if you recall that film. And she's a lady. She's a lady robot. She's got the voice of Jodie Benson, which is Ariel. Although you probably won't catch that because she's doing a different voice, but it is her. She is a vengeful, envious, green-eyed monster who really wants...
very in love with her inventor.
That Dr. Brainerd, yeah, she's got a little bit of an Electra complex there. And sabotages his life. In fact, actually, that's probably a big reason why he misses the wedding.
What about your wedding? Sorry, Sarah.
He put it in his calendar, and she hid it from him in his calendar. Why he needed to put his wedding in the calendar, I don't know, but he did put it in his calendar. You know, he was accommodating.
He knows
his
himself. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. And she keeps showing it to him when his back is turned and being like, "Oops, what a coincidence that you're missing it. Oh my gosh, how does this keep happening?"
Yep. And not only is she a permanently flying robot, which is going to be an issue in a minute, she also has the ability to project full body holograms of a made up person.
She builds a version of herself
from magazines, which also kind of calls back Buffalo Bill, actually, that whole sequence. Like, now I'm thinking about it. That's a real... I was thinking
I thought you were going to Clueless for a second. I don't know why I would have thought you went there, but yes,
Clueless. We should do Clueless. I haven't watched that movie in years. It's so good. Love that movie. It's fantastic. Basically, Weebo sucks and then very quickly has a change of heart that seems to be motivated by nothing.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Thought... So this was my first time watching Flubber. I didn't catch it as a kid. I thought she was going to be the villain.
Yeah, she kind of is for most of the movie, and then she's not.
I thought it was going to be like an AI gone bad, try to ruin his life situation.
No, the villain is that mobster man.
She should have made it into your AI drinks episode. What would be a drink for Weebo?
Oh, there's probably some kind of like a spinster themed drink because she really she doesn't get what she wants, right? She wants it and she don't get it.
Some sort of mimosa riff.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, if you go back to the golden age of cocktails, I'm sure there was something from the 1800s referencing spinsters. Changes her mind, decides to help Dr. Brainerd, and gets brained. She gets hit with a baseball bat by Buffalo Bill and killed, which was a shock. I thought that she was going to come back. She died.
Yeah. fully died. They have a whole conversation about robot souls.
Yes.
And hers is not salvageable.
What happens to the soul of a machine, Sarah?
Can you fix her?
I can make repairs. But I can never bring back the life it was she had. It's gone. I never knew what it was to begin with. It was some sort of glorious accident. I kept trying to recreate it and isolate it and find out what it was. I never could.
Although she does have instructions for how to build a new Weebo that they call Weebet.
Did you also catch that one of the upgrades to this new Weebo is that there's a little bit of him in it?
Yeah.
So
It's their daughter.
made their daughter.
Yeah. Actually, at the end of the movie, she refers
Creepy.
to Sarah and Dr. Brainerd as mom and dad, and she considers Flubber to be a sibling.
I've made a few changes. I've removed a few of my flaws and added a little of you.
Also, Weebo's a much cooler design. Like, Weebet looks like crap to me. Like, it's just this one red. It's too sleek. Like, Weebo is cool. You know, Weebo...
Something you can interact with.
Yeah, it looks like something you cobbled together, whereas Weebet looks like it was like just one piece. I don't know. I don't like the look of Weebet. It's also a different voice, by the way. It's not Jodie Benson. Somebody else does Weebet.
Well, different soul, different person. Your daughter had an astute observation about Weebo and the flying car.
Yeah, so like in this movie, they decide, Sarah points out, like, he doesn't know how to monetize. He doesn't know how to monetize Flubber. He can't figure it out. And Sarah points out, like, dude, this is it. You built a flying car with this stuff. This is it. We're going to take this, and they take it and sell it to Ford, the flying car, which, by the way, is a T-Bird, which is like, if there was a 50s car that I wanted to own, that would probably be a friggin' love those things. My daughter says, but why is that a thing? Why do they care that he has a flying car? He's got a flying robot. He's somehow solved flight already with Weebo. Weebo's been flying this entire movie. Never has to really sit down. Maybe she gets recharged or something, but
She, at one point, she plugs herself into the wall.
it still flies.
Still flies.
We drive plug-in cars now. We could have had plug-in flying cars.
Exactly. Just make it bigger, put in a seat, solve the problem.
He does make a reference to the fact that, like, Weebo's soul was a accident of science, some kind of magic
Right.
that he can't reproduce. But I can't imagine that her turbines that make her fly were. Like, that seems to be intentional.
Have you ever seen the movie Bicentennial Man?
Yeah, not really, no. But I am aware of it.
Another Robin Williams movie where he is a sentient
A
machine.
much-hated Robin Williams movie. if
Is
I'm
it
not mistaken.
hated? Why?
I think it was a big flop and long and unedited kind of. Jack
It
is
is.
another Robin Williams movie that people don't like.
It is those things, but I grew up loving that movie. That movie can like bring me to tears. Bicentennial Man.
Whoa, I didn't know it was
Truly
that powerful.
Yeah, he like fights to become human. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
He
Over the
made-
span of centuries,
Robin Williams made a lot of weird movies.
he did
He did.
a lot of like semi-serious comedies with a serious undertone.
So he went to Juilliard with Christopher Reeves and Mandy Patinkin, and he was he was dismissed. Actually, his professor, his acting teacher, told him, "There's nothing left for me to teach you. There's nothing left for me to teach you."
Oh wow!
So Robin,
In a good way or a bad way?
It's a good question. I don't know, because
Okay.
I think that he could not be contained. Robin Williams is he had apparently quite a bit of range, but ended up doing kind of a lot of these human cartoon characters. Have you ever seen World According to Garp?
I actually haven't. No.
So I remember, like, I saw a clip from it or something. My parents were like, "Oh, that's World According to Garp. That movie's hilarious. You should see that someday." World According to Garp. People talk about it like it's a comedy. I don't think that movie's a comedy. It does have moments of levity in it, but it's a lot like, What About Bob, where you watch it and you're like, this isn't funny. This is horrifying. This is like, it just gets scarier and worse every second of this movie. What are people laughing at? Maybe that John Lithgow is in drag? Maybe. Like,
Yeah.
just like inappropriately laughing at that. 1 Hour Photo. That's another one. You ever see that one?
Yeah, I did.
He hated doing comedies. I am convinced. The Birdcage, though, one of the funniest fucking movies ever.
The Fisher King. I only saw that once, but I wanted to rewatch it a lot.
I loved it as a kid. That's a Terry Gilliam movie. The Fisher King is Robin Williams plays a homeless man who believes himself to be a knight on a quest for the Holy Grail. And the Fisher King is Jesus, because he's
Sounds very
the king of fishers.
Is it sort of Don Quixote-ish?
It is extremely that. And
Okay.
in that movie, a yuppie dude's wife dies in a senseless murder. He's like at some upscale restaurant, and like I think it was like 80s fear of like super criminal drug lords. Like just some dude machine guns the restaurant to death. Like insane.
I saw this in college, and I remember really liking it, but I haven't revisited it since.
Yeah, like basically the Joker just shows up and murders everybody.
Oh.
Like, but yeah, that movie, and it's about him like recovering from that and connecting with this homeless man who believes himself to be Don Quixote basically.
Hook. I also haven't watched Hook in I don't think I've watched it since he died.
We watched it recently. I loved that movie growing up. I think very interestingly. No, it's still good.
Okay.
My kids loved it
Good.
too. But there's a big couple of buts in there. Everything about that movie is great. However, I will say that Steven Spielberg did not like it. He thought it was like one of the worst movies he ever made, and he made 1941.
Aside.
Yeah, as an aside. And also in that movie, obviously, Rufio dies, right?
Right.
Little Rufy boy. But Rufio dies, and like they do not dwell upon it. This child was stabbed to death, and immediately, like the only thing that is said is like, "You killed Rufio," and then they move on.
So you must die. Well, they don't dwell on it, but an entire generation of children is still dwelling on it. So
Probably,
we gave him his due.
The really interesting story about Robin Williams, though, is the genie in Aladdin. So, man, we could do a whole episode about this, but like in broad strokes, Aladdin was frankly a ripoff of this movie that never got released called The Thief and the Cobbler. It did eventually get released, but it was this thing that this animator had been working on for 30 years. It's insane animation. And I think if I'm not mistaken, Disney like tried to hire him or buy it and they wouldn't. So they made Aladdin instead. And the two films don't really resemble each other, so it doesn't matter. They made Aladdin. The character of the genie, they were like, if we don't get Robin Williams to do this, we don't have a movie. And they knew that Robin Williams didn't want to work with Disney. And the way that they got him was they took one of his like stand-up bits, because people forget that Robin Williams used to do stand-up while on mountains of cocaine. And they animated it as the genie to the bit, and they showed it to Robin Williams, and he loved it, and he said, okay, fine, I'll do it. However, he was already committed to doing Fern Gully, and Disney thought, since you're doing our animated film and it's like the same schedule, you will drop out of Fern Gully. And he refused to, because he had made a commitment to Fern Gully, and Disney was really pissed about it, and as was Robin Williams and the Robin Williams estate. There was like some severely bad blood about it. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but maybe it's changed in like recent months. I think the estate has released some of the rights, but like Disney couldn't do shit with his version, his voicing of A Friend Like Me. They didn't release it on sing-alongs. It's not on Spotify.
Oh, really?
Like you couldn't get that thing anywhere because of a feud with the estate. He did continue to work with Disney, but there was some fucking shit that went down on Aladdin that he was, and he swore he would never do Disney again. And he badmouthed Disney in public and said that like they don't make very good movies, and like I think he wouldn't even promote it or something. Like it's kind of crazy how much.
Well, Flubber is Disney.
Yeah, obviously he went back to Disney.
Yeah.
He needed that money.
That's good money. Well, plus when you do Disney, it's not just the money for the movie. Like you've probably got endless calls to do voiceovers for the parks and voiceovers for a video game, anything. Like millions of pieces of content. So it's an ongoing job.
And I think that they used a lot of sound-alikes for Robin way before he died. Tragedy of tragedies. I almost put her up for adoption. My daughter prefers the live-action Aladdin to the original.
It's got to be a hard thing for parents, right? It's like you're so connected to a piece of content that you liked as a child, and you expect that when you bring this glorious piece of content to your child, and they're like, I like the new thing better, which is why the new thing exists, because Disney banked on her liking the new thing better.
She likes it better because she thinks that Jasmine in it is tougher. I
haven't seen the new one.
Yeah, it's bad. Jasmine's pretty tough in the animated one too, though, to be perfectly honest.
She is.
She does. The whole movie is about her standing up for her rights and like doing what she wants, and she does go toe to toe with Jafar, like, in physical combat. So I don't know what my daughter's talking about. That's not actually one of the princesses that needed heavy revising. No Prince Charming comes and rescues Jasmine. So I don't know. She also, there's a really bad song in it that she sings that seems to have nothing to do with the plot at all.
The Oscar winner, the Oscar, the one they wanted to put up for Oscar nomination.
Yeah, I forget who it was. There was some stand-up comic talking about how, like, to be nominated for an Oscar, you know, a remake has to have a new original song, blah blah blah, and that's why all of these remakes have a new song in it, and it is the worst song you've ever heard in your life.
Yep.
This is the example they must have been talking about. It just is like literally time stops, she sings a song, and the movie continues. There is no reason for this song to be here.
And there's undoubtedly a credits version of this song sung by some famous current pop artist.
Oh yeah, I think it was Fire Inside. No, Chemical Romance did it or something, I think, actually.
These are the things that Disney does, and I'm just like, oh, but there's so much. Just don't. You don't need to. You don't have to. You're Disney.
They do? I don't know.
Right now they do, because everyone's bored with everything else they're doing.
Well, you know, Bob Iger says it's going to be a return to form. They're bringing it back. They're steering the ship around. They're course correcting. Did you see the live action Little Mermaid?
Ray worked on it for 6 weeks.
I know why she quit.
Yeah, well,
that movie sucked.
I don't know. What was the first? I guess the most successful one of these that they did was Beauty and the Beast, because there is a reason to live action Beauty and the Beast. There is people in it.
Yeah.
So I just Lion King. I guess Little Mermaid. She's also half person. So
Mermaid needed updating because we did.
It did need updating. The story.
That's a character who really. That she was a weak princess.
Yes,
and you can correct on that. And I also always think about the body shaming issues too, because like one of the opening scenes in it, in the beginning when they're escaping the shark in the sunken boat, flounder, a fucking fish can't get through it, and she fits through that thing easily. Like, oh my god, she's like barely even there. She could turn sideways and slip through a crack in a board. Like,
she's tiny. Her waist is tiny.
Disney remakes, Parent Trap, original or remake?
Oh, original.
Original, absolutely.
I do. I love the Lindsay Lohan. I do like the remake. I don't totally throw it out, but I choose the original. Pete's Dragon.
Oh God, the original is so much better.
I haven't watched that in years either. I would love to revisit that.
The original Pete's Dragon is insane. The remake made some interesting choices that I don't hate. I liked that movie more than I thought I was going to. I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, the original has so I don't think the remake's a musical. And the original had some really weird songs in it.
Yeah.
The villain in it is a welfare queen who is like buying children from the government for government aid, and also so she can put them to work. And that's what Pete is escaping from.
Yikes.
And she's like
he's like being abused, right?
Oh yeah. Well, there's this woman who's got like a gang of kids that she's like purchased, and like she's like like the big song is "I've got a bill of sale right here," and then the other lady's like, "But you don't love this kid, and you can't have him. Like he's coming with me," and she's like, "I own him. I physically own him." The woman who's doing the bill of sale song is Shelley Winters, who is Shelley Winters, the Shelley Winters.
We've done two kinds of episodes, I feel like, lately: pilots of TV shows and things we are very nostalgic for.
But you said you didn't watch Flubber growing up.
No, but you did. Like,
I don't think I did.
It is a nostalgia. Okay, well then I don't know why we watched Flubber.
We watched Flubber because my kid made me watch Flubber, and it was easy. It was low hanging fruit. That's why we watched Flubber.
The reason I was like, oh yeah, that works, we'll go with it, is because it fell in this theme of like movies from the 90s that people that are of our generation are nostalgic for.
I will say this though, Flubber has a look that I am nostalgic for. It has a vibe and a cinematography and a stylistic thing that Disney used to do in like I was just talking about this in a How to Drink video. Like the cinematography of the Disney commercials and their planning tapes and stuff like that you could get, they were so lush and just the way, the color, everything about it. Like, I could know nothing about Flubber at all. I could watch it silent, and I'm going to feel a kind of sense of nostalgia for the vibe, the look, the props, the set dressings, you know, all of that is going to draw me into a very kind of nostalgic place.
Yeah. It also just feels like, when I was watching it, I was like, it feels like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids meets Pee Wee Herman meets Home Alone. Like, it's just this like warm hug of 90s memories.
When you are in line for Journey to Imagination with Figment, or whatever they happen to call it right now, Imagination, whatever.
Right.
There are references throughout that line to Dr. Brainerd, is it Philip Selinsky? Whatever his first name is, the guy with the shrinking gun.
Selinsky, yeah.
Yeah, and I forget his first name. Loved that movie, by the way, growing up. I saw that in the theater with my grandmother. Fucking loved that movie. And then, and of course, Dr. Nigel Channing, who is your host at this thing.
I think that's it.
That's where we ended.
Flubber.
That's
we flubbered.
We flubbed.
We flubbered for an hour.
Too long. We should have been tighter on Flubber.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess.
You can keep your
Whenever
flubs
we
tight.
get into Disney stuff, it sort of loosens up and goes in all
There's
sorts
a lot
of
of
directions. So,
connections, and I happen to know too many of them.
yeah. So,
guys, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Midnight Local. You will find us on Instagram and on TikTok and on YouTube if you're watching, and on anywhere you get your podcasts, such as Spotify or Apple or the other podcasting places.